there, and we're here. In the past needs to be left there, otherwise we're going to be suffering. And by the way, there's a wonderful quote, I'm not really sure who said it, but suffering and pain comes from holding on to something that we need to let go of. So if there's any area of your life that you're having suffering and pain, think about what needs to be released. Right? I didn't know. And what I always find fascinating is, a couple years ago, and by the way, I've been studying this for a long time, and it only really has sunk in for the past couple of years. It was up here, the longest journey from here to here. It was up here, and I was saying it, but I really wasn't living it. And I remember a friend who got it was communicating that to me. And it was in a very, well, you're choosing to suffer. And it was very, how it was said was so like, oh my God, I want to take a bath after it, right? And yet when you're in your stuff, you're in your stuff, right? And so to be able to say that, you know what, in a loving way, if you're in suffering, I have first compassion for you. And then, let's now look at what the issue is that's creating that pain. Because it is something that needs to be released. Yes?
Can you forgive if you don't know what it is they did?
Yes.
Can you forgive if you don't know what they did?
More than ever.
It's not about that.
Well, forgiveness usually is never about somebody else, first of all, but I guess I'm not really understanding the question, because if you don't know what
I know that something happened between my father and I. I don't know exactly what he did, but I know he did something. I've tried to forgive him, but I don't know what I'm forgiving him for.
Yeah, it doesn't,
I can't seem to do it.
right, it doesn't matter.
Incest issues.
Right. There are a lot of times, what I always say is that we don't need to, when I do my work with individual clients, it's important to be able to identify maybe the idea of what happened. To not harp on it or relive it. To then just have an understanding of, okay, that might have happened, but it really isn't even about that. It's really about our understanding of what that did for us or to us. Does that make sense?
On the surface it does, yeah. But
Okay.
internally it doesn't.
Thank you so much for bringing that forward, because that's so profound what you just said. See, how many times have we said, I get it up here. I get it. I get it. But there's something down here that's just not connecting. As a life coach, as a person with a master's in psychology, I don't want to say that, it bugs me when I hear professionals that don't work with inner child. Because what's happening is, you get, it was back there, and you don't really need to go back there. But the kid inside, who is alive and well in each of us, and hurting big time, and whenever something happens out there and we react, and kind of like, where did that come from? That's the little kid inside of us that is screaming out for help. So it is, in the work that I would do, what I encourage you to do is to go down and find out what's happening with him. And what I always encourage people to do, and I have all my clients do this, is I have them find a picture of themselves when they were between the ages of 5 and 10. Why that? Because I believe we're brought into this earth, we know it all. We're perfect, whole, and divine, and we know it. 0 to 5, we're living joyously. Living by myself, loving life. Then we start building some facilities up here, and then we start saying, what's happening around me? I really can't understand it, what's happening around me, but I know it has to be about me, because we were very egocentric. What happens then is we make assumptions about ourselves based upon stuff that's happening out there, which has nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. But we don't know that as children. And so we create these horrible negative beliefs that we then run with for the rest of our lives until we choose to do something different. And that's why the vacuum law is to look at the thoughts. It's not even as much as what happened back then, but it is your thoughts about what might have happened that need to be healed. And the work that I have people do is have that picture from 5 to 10, because that's when the stuff starts going down, and we start making decisions about it. And traditionally, the decisions we make are not the best ones, and not the most loving ones, and not the most supportive ones. And then we actually take that picture, put it next to our bed, and we actually work with that child, helping that child remember who they truly are. Their perfection, their divinity, their wholeness. And then give that child compassion like you wouldn't believe for believing for all these years that he could have ever been less than according to what might have happened in his perception about it. Make sense? And what I even have people do as well is I have them get a picture of from 0 to 5. Oh, and pictures of 0 to 5 are magical. And then the picture of between 5 and 10, and you all know which one that is, when there's a little bit of sadness in your face. And then when you're not around, I have you face the pictures towards each other. So the 0 to 5-year-old can 24/7 shower the 5 to 10-year-old with magic.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to add to that. And get a picture of your father at 4 or 5 years old also. And have that energy, the purity of the energy there as a healing trigger symbol.
Absolutely. I mean, powerful, powerful, powerful stuff that we're talking about here. Did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I did. Let's see. I wanted to ask you if you've ever worked with a client where the healing that needs to take place, that the healing needs to take place, is based on taking on their parents' energy. It's not their direct experience, but they're taking on their parents' energy. The reason why I ask that of you is that if we're really not sure what we want to heal or release, we can always say, call it X, call it Zelda, anything, and just say, God, you know what I mean.
Right.
And assume that
Fill the
is
space with love.
Right.
fill the space with love, exactly.
And really the fact of the matter is this, is we don't need to identify anything.
Yeah, we don't need to.
But what we need to do is realize what the thoughts that we're carrying around are not working for us.
Yeah,
And we need to work on those thoughts.
yes.
And while we're doing that, send love and compassion to the little kid inside of us that might be, more than likely, taking a lot of things personally. And send that little child love, and just love on it. Love on it as much as you possibly can. It's profound, the shifts that can happen in a very short time when you do that kind of work. So I really encourage you to do that.